Hi guys!
Hey!
So in this video we're going to talk about making the most of your Florida holiday, and especially with Virgin holidays. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Okay, so one of the first parts of making the most of your holiday for us is, because we fly with Virgin specifically, is a thing called Twilight check-in. Now, I'm not sure if any other companies do it. They might do, but we've done it a few times, well, a couple of times now with Virgin. So basically you can go down to Gatwick, which is where we fly from, and you can check in your bags and get yourself checked on to the flight effectively the night before you actually fly. So for instance, if we flew on the Sunday, we would always drive down on the Saturday, sort of taking our time. We stay over in a hotel near Gatwick, and then the evening we go down to Gatwick and we actually give them our bags and they get rid of them. So the next day when we go into the terminal to fly, we just take our hand luggages. We don't have to worry about queuing up to check in and all that kind of stuff and get all our boarding passes and whatnot, because we've got them all, and we just go straight through security and we go get some breakfast.
It's really nice because you don't have to rush so much in the morning, because sometimes with the check-in you literally have to wait about an hour to check in your bags. So there's just no rushing, and it makes your holiday like a little bit longer because you stay somewhere the night before. I mean, obviously it's not staying in Florida, but it's still another night away, which we really enjoy. So
yeah, and for anyone that gets that worry of driving down on the day of flying, it completely takes that away. So Charlotte, for instance, would hate having to drive down to Gatwick on the day that we fly. I don't think she'd be able to cope. I'd
just be too stressed. So it's so nice to just have the night before. I mean, our flights are usually at like 11, half 11 in the morning. So I mean, we could do it, but we just decide, you know, what the hell, let's have one more day and not have to rush. So we love it. So the next thing to make the most of your Florida holiday is by checking the opening times for each of the Disney parks. So I think it's like 180 days in advance when you can start booking your dining. If you go onto the My Disney Experience app, you can see what times the parks are open each day. And this is a really good way to start planning where you want to go each day. And a lot of the parks have extra magic hours. So one day of the week, or every day of the week, there will be one Disney park that will be opened slightly earlier or slightly later. So for example, Hollywood Studios usually opens at 9 AM, but on the magic hour days they may be open 8 AM till 9 AM, and in between 8 AM and 9, only people staying on Disney property are able to go into the park at those times. And the same for if it's late, so sometimes Magic Kingdom is open an extra 2 hours, so say 9 PM to 11 PM. So that gives the chance for people who are staying on property to get into the parks when it's a lot quieter, and it's a really great time to ride those rides that have long queue times. So you're really making the most of those days by cramming rides in that you usually would have to queue a really long time for.
Yeah, it's really useful, especially if you're going in like June, July time, early August, just because throughout the day it's so busy. So half the time you won't get anything done. But with the extra magic hours, you can really get on the rides that you've missed. Okay, so there's another part to staying on Disney, which is quite useful, is a 60-day early fast pass. So basically, you can book your fast pass reservations up to 60 days in advance, whereas if you're not staying on Disney property, it's only 30, which is worth its weight in gold really, because a lot of the time, some of the more popular rides or the newer rides at that time, so the last time we went, it was like Frozen, the Frozen ride and stuff, to get a fast pass for that was just
really difficult.
It really was. It was just, you couldn't do it. We got one, but it's because we were able to do it 60 days in advance, but there's barely any times left even when we did it. So having that 60 days is so useful. So how it works is you can book up to 3 fast passes per day. Okay, so for instance, to say you're gonna go to Magic Kingdom, you book your 3 fast passes throughout the day, and then you just rock up to the ride, scan your magic band, or it works on your ticket as well, doesn't it? Yeah, so your ticket or whatever it is it's going to do, and you get on, you skip the queue. Sometimes you have to wait like 10 minutes, 15 minutes in fast pass, but it's not an hour and a half, you know what I mean, the normal queue would be. So it's brilliant. However, we always try and get our fast passes as early as possible in the day. So we'll get, say, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And the reason for that is because once all 3 of them have used, you can then book another 1. Okay, so chances of being able to book that next one on Frozen or, you know, one of the bigger rides like Peter Pan's Flight or something is very slim, because they're always fully booked. However, if you've booked your 3 in the morning, by 11 o'clock you can then go, oh, actually, let's have a look, and you can go on. So for instance, we've been in the Animal Kingdom park and we've booked a fast pass for a show, or we've booked a fast pass to go and do on Kilimanjaro safaris and stuff like that. So it's really quite useful if you book them early, and that way you can then use another one. What it also lets you do is you can book that next one in another park. So if you're going to do Magic Kingdom in the morning and then the afternoon Hollywood Studios, you could do your 3 fast passes, get them done as quick as possible, get across to Hollywood Studios, and then start doing one by one. And if you're clever with it, you can book one in Hollywood Studios for 1, use it, and then book another one at 2, and then another one at 3, and you can just keep going until there's nothing left or you run out of time.
It's more so, you know, you can't book it obviously every hour, because there are only selected time slots left if you try and book it on the day. So it's kind of like you do your 3 and then you see what's left. Sometimes it's stuff you really don't need fast passes for, but you know, if you can get it, then you might as well, saves you queuing. Okay, so the next one, which kind of links to the fast pass, is the fact that if you stay on Disney property, you can book your dining reservations 180 days in advance. So with the dining, especially in big places that are really popular, such as Be Our Guest, you do need to book to eat there. I mean, you can turn up on the day and say, but you know, 9 times out of 10, there's not going to be a space. I mean, maybe if you're a table of 2, but anything more than that, you'll be extremely lucky to get in. There may be like a last minute cancellation, but chances are you're not going to get in. So with the 180 days, you do it again on the My Disney Experience app, and they have all of the restaurants that are table service. You can book in advance. So basically how it works is you click the selection of breakfast, lunch or dinner, and say for example we wanted to go somewhere for breakfast, it would then show you all the times that are available to have breakfast in that restaurant. So you can book as many as you want. There's no kind of limitations to obviously what there is with the fast pass, but you're probably not going to want to book more than 3 a day anyway. But the good thing is about the 180 days is people who aren't staying at Disney don't get that benefit. So staying on Disney, we book 180 days, like 6 months. So we book 6 months in advance, which is ridiculous. So when you book your first kind of dining, that then opens up 10 days into your holiday. So say we were going for 2 weeks, the first day I book, it will open 9 days after that, and then every day after that, 1 more day will be available to book. So one kind of trick that we did when we booked our dining for this year is when we go to Walt Disney World this year in the summer, we arrive in Florida on the Saturday afternoon. So we weren't planning on eating anywhere table service this first night, mainly because we don't know what time will be available, and we have kind of a tradition of things that we do on our first night when we arrive in Florida. So we decided to actually book somewhere to eat in Disney Springs that evening. We actually booked T-Rex for kind of later on in the evening. Our plans aren't actually to go to T-Rex that night, but what that did do was open up the 9 days afterwards, which basically meant we got an extra day to book all those restaurants we wanted. And I do feel like if we didn't do that, we would have struggled to get the Be Our Guest reservation that we booked, because when I did book it, there was like 1 time available, so I was like, yes, love that. So that's quite a good tip. You can cancel the reservations at any time. Obviously there are some reservations where you need to have a kind of credit card deposit, or just link your credit card to the account. Actually, I think all reservations you need to do that. And as long as you don't cancel the reservation within a certain time, which is usually like 24 hours, you won't be charged. So, I mean, I've still opened our reservation for T-Rex, you know, but I will cancel it, and that's no problem. You can cancel it whenever. So that's always a really good tip.
Yeah. So another way to make the most of your holiday abroad to Disney, Universal, wherever it is you're going. I mean, we say Disney a lot because obviously we love it. But for us, it is a sat-nav. So if you are not driving, you might as well just skip the next couple of minutes. If you are driving in America, this one is worth its weight in gold. So sometimes they'll give you a sat-nav, sometimes the car has one. For us, we found it was like $14, maybe $20 to rent a sat-nav per day. So that would have racked up a lot, especially if you go for like 2 or 3 weeks. That's a huge amount of money. So what we done was we downloaded US maps from TomTom, and we just used the TomTom we've got in England, which I don't actually use here, but it's now being used for America. I put it on a little card, I put it at the bottom, and then it gives you all the states across America, and I use that all the time to get around Disney and around different parts of Florida and Orlando, to different shops and stuff like that. The next part of this is the most important part. Before we went, we sat down and I found out all the addresses where we'd want to go. So the addresses of Animal Kingdom, the addresses of Magic Kingdom. Although when you're on Disney it's very well signposted, it's nice just to have them. I got the addresses of Universals, I got the addresses of SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, I got the addresses of all the different outlets we might want, Walmarts. There was a Halloween shop we wanted to go to, I got that address, and I wrote them all down on a piece of paper, the exact address that I'd need to type in to the sat-nav to find them. And this saved us a huge amount of time, because we'd be like, alright, where are we going? And we just keep the bit of paper in the car, I'd type it in, and the sat-nav would take us there. We had no issues with it. The sat-nav didn't take us the wrong way, different directions. It was so good. So if you are going to be driving when you're across there and you've got a sat-nav, definitely look into getting a Florida maps, well, America maps, and then Florida are part of that. I think it was about, was it £40 for the maps?
I can't remember how much it was, but that's then free updates.
Yeah, we got lifetime updates, so we can update it every time we go, which is brilliant.
And obviously it's not just Florida, so if we ever go anywhere else in America, we can use it there as well.
Exactly. So find out exactly where it is you want to go, and then write down them addresses. Even silly things like 7-Eleven or I don't know, IHOP. You know what I mean? You might know that it's an international drive, but it might be a quicker route to get there, and being able to just type it in and get there is so much easier.
Especially if there's any roadworks or anything, like obviously because we're not from Florida, we wouldn't know any other way, but you know, but the way the sat-nav would take us. But obviously if there's roadworks, the sat-nav will redirect you, so you're not going to get lost in a foreign country. So I would really recommend either renting a sat-nav, or if you have one, just downloading the American maps.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely a top tip.
So another way to make the most of your Florida holiday, and this is again a Virgin Holidays tip, as Jez said before, when he mentioned the twilight check-in, I'm not sure if other holiday companies do this kind of deal, but we know that Virgin do, so we always go with Virgin. And that is early admission into Universal. So basically, say the park opens at 9 AM, you get to go in an hour early at 8 AM and explore Diagon Alley at Harry Potter World. This is awesome. Obviously there's not many people around, and the best thing is about this early admission is the fact that Diagon Alley gets extremely busy during the day. It's probably like the most popular part in Universal.
Yeah. And
obviously you've got the ride in Gringotts, which is great, there's no queue, but the reason I love to go so early is exploring the shops. So if you haven't been to Diagon Alley in Florida, you can literally go in every single shop that you see in the film. You can walk in, you can buy the merchandise from that store, and it's really great. And the shops aren't particularly big, they're quite small, and obviously if there's a lot of people in there, it's tight, you feel rushed, you can't look around at everything easily. So by going in that hour early, you can just stroll around the shops, see everything you want to see, and by the time you've finished in Diagon Alley and you're leaving, like the park's only been open a short time and people are now coming in and you've done that part of the park. So basically how it works is when it happened for us, when we went to the airport, when we first arrived, you go to the Virgin Holidays desk and they give you a little voucher almost, which allows you early entry, which is really great. I feel like we had more than one.
We got two. You get two and it's a family pass.
Yeah, so obviously it only works in Diagon Alley, I believe. So you couldn't do it in both of the parks, but if you wanted to go to Diagon Alley more than once in your trip, that's a really great way to get in early, and you can do it, as Jess said, twice. So yeah,
another top tip for that is when you actually go into Diagon Alley, it's that early admission, it's going to be empty. When we went, I don't know, there was only maybe about 15 people walking around, the rest of them had started queuing up for the ride. So what we found was that actually this is the perfect opportunity for pictures. If you've got one of the magical wands which make things move and happen in the Harry Potter area in Diagon Alley, That's useful as well. You can do that then without having to queue up to get behind people to wait. You can do both. You can still get in an hour early, explore, take pictures in front of all the different areas, and like stuff, sitting on the bikes and going in and stuff like that. But then just as you're getting towards the end of your hour, go and queue up, because you've now spent 45 minutes exploring, taking pictures, no one around. You get on the queue, and the queue's only going to be like 20 minutes anyway, because there's only a limited people. And then by the time you come out, the park's now open. So you've explored the area, you've done the ride, you've done Harry Potter, which is the busiest and most hard, like the biggest bit. Also as well, if you plan it correctly and you come out of Diagon Alley just as the park's opening, you can go and jump on another ride, because you're right near Simpsons, you're right near Men in Black, you've got access to all these different bits. I believe as well that's now where the Fast and Furious ride is, isn't it?
I think so.
Don't quote us on it, we're not sure. But you could potentially be able to run across to Fast and Furious and get there as well, and only be in a short queue for that one. So yeah, definitely use your early admission to there, because it's free. So the last one to make the most out of your adventures is early bag drop off. So when you're flying with Virgin and you book packages and stuff, we've heard from friends and family that you don't always get it if you don't stay on like a approved hotel or villa or something, but not sure. So for us, we've always got it. You can drop off your bags at Disney Springs before your flight. So that opens relatively early in the morning. So on your last day when you get up, you've probably packed the night before, or you've packed that morning. You just drive your bags down, or get the bus or whatever down to Disney Springs. There's a big outside bit, and you basically just take your bags over, they weigh them, they check them in, put them on the back of this bus, and then you will see them again when you land back at Manchester, Gatwick, wherever it is you're flying to. So it's just like a massive weight off your mind, really, because you don't have to worry about going to the parks and leaving 2 weeks worth of clothes and purchases and all this kind of stuff in the back of a car. Especially if you've got things like sweets and treats and stuff, you could never leave that in the back of the car in Florida. You just come back and nothing left. So it's just not worth doing. But having the ability to drop your bags off and then go off and spend the morning, early afternoon in the park, and then make your way over to the airport with just your hand luggage is brilliant. We loved it, and it's definitely worth doing. It just makes the last day of your holiday that extra bit special, because you're able to do it and not everyone is.
Agreed.
Anything else to add?
No, I think we covered everything.
So yeah, what do you do to make your trip even better? What's your family tradition that you just always do, and it always seems to make the actual experience like the best? If you let us know down in the comments, it'd be awesome. Maybe we'll start doing it.
Thanks for watching, guys. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and we shall see you next week.
See you in the next one.
Guys.
Bye.